The leaders here in the United States need to learn how to mind their own business. It's like they're that nosy person. It's always in someone else's business. And usually, when that happens, bad things happen as a result of nosiness and meddling. Zelensky was warned by the Americans that the Russians were preparing to attack. How they knew that, no one knows. But Zelensky didn't believe that at the time. And he was saying that because of the meddling of the West, that could be a reason why it just may happen. And that it was hurting the economy because it was causing a panic. Now, this was last year. At that time, Zelensky accused the West of threatening the health of the nation's economy by causing panic over the threat of a Russian invasion. We don't need this, he said. There are signals, even from respected leaders of states. They just say that tomorrow there will be war. This is panic. How much does it cost for our state? Zelensky said the Western media's portrayal of the situation gives the impression of tanks in the streets of Kyiv. But here it is, almost 1 year later. Russian tanks are in Kyiv. Now, whose fault is that? I mean, they were warned. They didn't listen. What else do you expect the United States to do? One thing America can do is just stay out of folks' business. When you get into these other countries' business, it always leads to something bad. Now, after this meeting that Zelensky had with Joe Biden, Zelensky vowed to fight for LGBT plus equality after this meeting with Joe Biden. And Putin don't rock too well with the LGBT community. But anything to undermine Russia, they are willing to do it. While America was legalizing gay marriages, Russian President Vladimir Putin said same-sex marriage will not happen as long as I'm in the Kremlin. Putin said that in Russia there will be dad and mom. Of mother and father to be subverted by what he called parent number one and parent number two. Putin goes on to say, as far as parent number one and parent number two goes, I've already spoken publicly about this and I'll repeat it again. As long as I'm president, this will not happen. There will be a dad and mom. Mind your business, America. Stay out of folks' business. You see what your meddling has caused? It has caused Russia to actually attack Ukraine. Now, you think you're doing something slick and real good, but this is going to backfire on you, America. Because somewhere down the line, they're going to blame you. Doggone Americans. They wouldn't have came here meddling, this would never happen. If you wouldn't have came to me with all this homosexual talk and rights, this would never have happened. When things go bad, people look for someone to blame. And you always stick your nose in business, and you always get the blame. The last time you went and stuck your nose in someone else's business that I can remember, and it backfired on you, was in Afghanistan. What happened when you decided that it was a good idea to help the rebels beat the Russians? Well, one thing happened was the people that you assisted, they formed this little group. Now, what was this group called? The Taliban. That's right, the Taliban. And you gave this group money and weapons to beat the Russians, and then this little group turned around and, as you said, bombed the World Trade Center. Could America be creating another Osama bin Laden in Zelensky? I mean, you send all this money and military aid to Zelensky to beat the Russians. He somehow, luckily, beats the Russians. This man is going to become big-headed. And you know how you Caucasians do it. He just may want to extend his power beyond Ukraine. There is a reason that Putin wants him out. I'm not in Ukraine. And one thing I know about here in America, anyone America supports is against me and my people. And anyone that they reject is usually for my people. America knew that if they kept buddying up with Ukraine, it would piss Putin off. First of all, you're talking. What are you talking about? Oh, we're just talking about us joining NATO. What? And you know Putin don't like that. Okay, what else were you talking about? Oh, we were talking about giving LGBT rights, gay people rights to get married. You know Putin doesn't like that either. So now you want to pretend to be surprised and shocked that Putin has sent in the troops to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. And speaking of destruction, who is going to foot the bill for this destruction? I've seen the pictures of the missile damage that is done to these buildings. Who is going to pay for that? Millions of people have already left Ukraine, not including the ones who have died because of the war and the ones that will die because of the war. What is left to fight for in Ukraine? Some people think that I may be on the side of the Russians. I am neither on the side of the Russians nor the Ukrainians. I'm on the side of right. One thing I know about Russia, at one time there were black Russians. What happened to them? Someone is responsible for their disappearance, and no one ever brings them up. So I don't rock with Russia. And when it comes to Ukraine, we know that Ukraine is a hotbed for racists and perversion. I'm also against that. It's just really sad that in order for things to get better, things have got to get worse. And maybe this war could be the start of things becoming better. You know, I have nothing against the gay community. You're free to do what you want in life. Because at the end of the day, it is you that is going to suffer from your decisions. But the reason that it's not a good idea to have a nation full of people from the LGBT community is what's happening in Ukraine. Men that identify as women in Ukraine said that they don't want to fight because they identify as women. So if you have a nation full of people thinking like that, who is going to protect the nation? I heard a lot about those German soldiers being gay. Now, whether or not that was a reason for them losing, hey, only God knows. But I know one thing, it didn't help them win. Here it is, your city, town, nation is being bombed by the Russians. They need soldiers, need fighters. You're a man and you say you want to fight because you identify as a girl. And so since there is a large population of men in Ukraine that identify as women and can't fight because they're girls, you need NATO and everybody else to come in and fight your battles for you. It just ain't happening. I'm like Zelensky on this one. I blame America. I blame America for meddling. If you would not have been over there meddling, this would all have never happened. You want to have a meeting with Zelensky knowing that Putin would not approve. Then you go put ideas in Zelensky's head that you know that Putin would not approve of. You try to tell them to stand tall. And now they are being bombarded with missiles and tanks and soldiers. And before it's all said and done, you are going to expect the American people to put their lives in danger for this war that we have nothing to do with. I can feel the American people being slowly sucked into this war. I mean, at first, you said you were just going to send money and aid. Now you're sending weapons and fighter jets. Next, you had to send people in to train these soldiers. Next, you got to send in actual soldiers. It's all a process, and we all can see this happening. Biden's first 2 years is about COVID. Next 2 years is going to be about the war in Russia. Anything to keep from addressing the problems that we are having here in America. The same thing that happened in Ukraine. Racism. That's still a big problem with racism. Black people are demanding reparations. You still haven't kept your promises to all the slaves and their descendants. So anything that hits the airwaves, America is going to gravitate to it in order to keep from addressing black Americans. That's why I don't really care about this war in Ukraine. Because whether Ukrainians win or lose, it's not going to have an effect on me personally. People say, oh man, it's affecting America. Man, from what I've been noticing, everything affects America. I'm wondering, who does America get their oil from? I thought they were getting it from Saudi Arabia. But it seems like whoever is selling oil is having problems, is going to affect American gas prices. I didn't know we got oil from Russia. Why what's happening with Russian oil has an effect on what's going on in Saudi Arabia. So they're always going to use whatever's happening around the world as an excuse to raise the prices on everything. So the problems is not what's happening in Russia, North Korea, or China. The problem is that America cannot stay out of other folks' business. Just as the world is trying to force Russia into doing right by Ukraine, why won't the world force America into doing right by black Americans? Cut the check.